Have you ever met someone who could walk into a room and without saying much, everyone turned to listen? Not because they were the loudest, not because they had the highest status, but because when they spoke, something happened. Their words seemed to land differently, their tone carried gravity, their silence even had power. This is not magic, it's psychology, and it's learnable. You see, communication isn't about having a big vocabulary or fancy phrasing, it's about connection, emotional, psychological, and human. It's the invisible thread between your mind and someone else's. It's the art of being understood and remembered. In this audiobook, How to Speak Smart, Master the Psychology of Powerful Communication, will unravel the secrets behind how people think, feel, and respond when you speak. You'll learn it's about leading with language, crafting moments that linger long after the conversation ends. So take a deep breath. You're not here to sound smarter, you're here to become more human, more real, and more powerful in your presence. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The mind behind every conversation. Imagine this for a moment. You walk into a room full of people. Conversations hum around you, laughter in one corner, quiet talks in another. You say just a few words and suddenly the atmosphere changes. Heads turn, eyes focus, people pause to listen. Not because you shouted, not because you demanded attention, but because something in your presence, in your voice, commanded it. That moment, that invisible shift in energy, is where powerful communication begins. Most people believe communication starts when they open their mouths. It doesn't. It starts long before, in the silent, unseen space of your mind. Before a word is ever spoken, it has already lived inside you as a thought, a feeling, a belief. Every conversation you have is a reflection of what's happening within you. That's why two people can say the same sentence, and one moves hearts, while the other barely makes a sound. The difference isn't vocabulary, it's vibration. Your words are echoes of your inner world. Think of the human mind as a vast ocean. When the waters are calm, the reflection is clear. People can see you, truly see you. But when the surface is stormy, no matter how beautiful your message is, it gets lost in the waves. The psychology of powerful communication begins not with language, but with awareness. Ask yourself this: what energy do I bring into a conversation before I even speak? Because energy communicates faster than words. Your posture, your breathing, your micro-expressions, they all send signals. People can sense who you are before they even know what you do. Their brains read your intention, your confidence, your sincerity, in fractions of a second. That's the hidden truth most people miss. You're always communicating, even in silence. The way you pause, the way you listen, the way your eyes move when someone talks, those are all forms of speech, and they reveal more about you than your actual sentences ever could. So the first step in mastering communication isn't learning how to speak better, it's learning how to be clearer inside yourself. When your thoughts are scattered, your speech becomes tangled. When your emotions are unacknowledged, your tone carries confusion. But when your mind and heart are aligned, your words become powerful instruments of truth. Consider this: every person you meet lives in their own mental universe. Their beliefs, fears, and memories shape how they hear you. So communication isn't just about what you say, it's about what they receive. To speak smartly is to bridge the gap between your world and theirs, and that bridge is empathy. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everything. It means stepping into another person's experience long enough to understand the emotional logic behind their reactions. When you do, your words automatically adjust. Your tone softens, your pacing slows, your language becomes more human. And suddenly, connection happens. People don't listen to information, they listen to energy that understands them. Let's make this real. Think about the last time you spoke with someone who truly listened to you. You probably didn't remember every word they said, but you remember how they made you feel, heard, valued, seen. That's the emotional imprint of presence. Now imagine if you could make others feel that way, consistently. Not by pretending, not by performing, but by being fully here. Presence is what transforms ordinary communication into something magnetic. When you are completely present, your attention becomes like sunlight. Everything it touches grows. People sense it immediately. They lean in, because presence is rare in a distracted world. But presence requires discipline. It means putting aside the noise in your own head, the need to be right, the urge to reply, the habit of rehearsing your next sentence. It means listening with your whole being, not just your ear. The greatest communicators in history were not necessarily the most eloquent, they were the most attuned. They didn't speak at people, they spoke to the deeper parts of them. To do that, you must start with silence. Before you enter a conversation, take a single breath and ask yourself, what do I want this person to feel when I speak? That one question can change everything. It turns your communication from self-expression into soul connection. Because at its core, powerful communication isn't about performance, it's about alignment. Alignment between your thoughts, your feelings, and your words. When those three are in harmony, your voice carries an unmistakable authenticity. It's not forced. It's not rehearsed. It's real. And the human brain, it recognizes real instantly. There's a quiet confidence that lives in authenticity. You don't need to raise your voice when your truth is strong enough to stand on its own. You don't need to dominate a conversation when your presence already speaks louder than volume ever could. This is the inner mastery behind every great communicator. It's not about saying more, it's about meaning. When your speech becomes an extension of your self-awareness, your communication transforms from a transaction into a transmission. People don't just process your words, they feel your integrity, they trust your energy, and that trust is what opens the door to influence. If you want people to listen deeply, you must first listen deeply to yourself. Notice the stories running in your own mind, the fears of being judged, the need to sound impressive, the worry of saying the wrong thing. Those thoughts dilute your authenticity. The moment you release them, your natural intelligence shines through. You don't need to speak perfectly to be powerful. You only need to be present and sincere. Every conversation is a reflection, a mirror showing you how much awareness you bring to your interaction. When you speak from anxiety, you receive confusion. When you speak from peace, you receive clarity. It's a cycle. What you give is what returns. So, as we begin this journey together, let this be your foundation. The psychology of communication is the psychology of self. The better you know your mind, the more clearly your message will reach others. Your voice is an instrument, but your consciousness is the musician. And before you can play the symphony of connection, you must learn to tune yourself, to quiet the noise, to listen to the silence beneath your own thoughts, to find the calm center where truth lives. Because when you speak from that place, your words don't just inform, they transform. Every great communicator begins here, in the quiet recognition that the power of speech is born in stillness, and from that stillness, influence rises effortlessly. This is where your journey begins, at the intersection of awareness and expression. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to turn that awareness into presence, how to shape your energy so that when you walk into a room, you don't have to fight for attention, you naturally attract it, because presence is not a technique, it's a state of being. And once you learn to master it, every word you speak will carry the unmistakable weight of authenticity. So take a breath, and step with me into the next chapter, where silence begins to speak. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Presence. Picture this. You're standing before someone, words forming on your lips, but they're not really there. Their eyes flicker away, their fingers tap, Their attention drifts to the invisible world inside their phone or their thoughts. You can feel it, the distance, the disconnect, the silent wall between you. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine someone looking at you, not just with their eyes, but with their entire being. You speak, and they listen, not impatiently, not waiting for their turn, but fully present. You feel understood before you even finish your sentence. That's not just attention, that's presence. Presence is the quiet magic that separates forgettable communication from moments that stay with us for years. It is not something you do, it's something you become. In a distracted world, presence is power, it's invisible authority. And the mind recognizes it instantly. When someone is truly present, their energy feels grounded, their words carry weight, and their silence feels alive. You sense their awareness. You sense their steadiness. It's as if they've slowed time itself. That's what happens when the mind stops rushing ahead and anchors itself in now. Presence begins in that stillness, not the absence of thought, but the mastery of it. Most people speak while half their attention is somewhere else, worrying, rehearsing, calculating. They're living inside an inner noise that never quiets. But the moment you silence that noise, you open a gateway that others can feel. When you are present, you don't just speak, you transmit. And here's the secret: the human brain is wired to respond to presence. On a subconscious level, we mirror the emotional state of the person in front of us. When you are calm, others calm down. When you are centered, others begin to trust you. Presence is contagious. It teaches without words. Have you ever noticed how some people can walk into a room and change the atmosphere without saying a single thing? It's not confidence they carry, it's consciousness. They are fully where they are. Their attention is undivided, and that undivided attention feels like light in a world full of noise. Presence doesn't mean stillness on the outside, it means stillness inside. You can be animated, expressive, passionate, and still be deeply present, because presence isn't about movement, it's about awareness. It's knowing, in every moment, that your mind is with your body, not lost in the past or the future. Think of a time when you felt completely absorbed in something. A song, a sunset, a heartfelt conversation. Time seemed to dissolve. You weren't self-conscious or trying to perform. You were just there. That's the essence of presence. When you bring that level of attention into your communication, people sense it immediately. They can't always name it, but they feel it, a sense of being seen, valued, grounded. And in that space, trust grows naturally. Presence isn't built through practice, it's revealed through awareness. You already have it, buried beneath distractions, insecurities, and endless thoughts. It's the natural state of the human spirit before it gets cluttered by noise. So how do we access it? Start with breath. Simple but profound. Because breath is the anchor between mind and body. When you feel scattered, nervous, or unseen, breathe. Each slow inhale reminds the brain that you are safe. Each exhale releases tension and noise. When you center your breathing, you reclaim your focus. Your voice deepens, your eyes steady, and your energy becomes magnetic. People can sense that you're not reacting, you're responding. You're not fighting to be heard, you're inviting others to listen. And that changes everything. Here's a truth few people realize. Most communication fails, not because of what's said, but because of how distracted we are when we say it. When your mind is divided, your message weakens, but when you speak from full presence, even the simplest words carry power. Try it the next time you talk to someone. Before you speak, take a breath. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Notice the weight of your body. Then, and only then, begin to speak. You'll feel a shift immediately. Your words will come slower, but stronger. You won't chase reactions, you'll create resonance. Presence also means listening, not waiting to reply, but entering the world of another person. Listening with your full attention is one of the purest gifts you can offer. It tells someone, right now, you matter, and the human heart responds to that message more deeply than to any argument or persuasion. True presence transforms relationships. It turns tension into understanding, strangers into allies, conversations into healing. Because when you are fully present with someone, you're saying, I see you as you are, and that's enough. This is why presence is not only a psychological tool, it's a spiritual one. It connects us to something timeless, the awareness that beneath all our roles and masks, we are beings sharing the same moment of existence, and that shared moment is sacred. In a world addicted to speed, your stillness becomes your strength. In a culture of constant talking, your silence becomes your authority. Presence is not loud, but it's unmistakable. It's not forceful, but it's unforgettable. It's what people feel long after they've forgotten your words. Every great communicator, from teachers to leaders, from artists to parents, learns that presence is the foundation of all influence. Because presence says, I am here, and I see you. And when you speak from that space, your voice carries not just sound but soul. Presence doesn't just change how people see you, it changes how you see the world. Colors become richer, faces become stories, silence becomes alive, life feels deeper. And from that depth, your communication begins to glow with authenticity. This is the psychology of presence, awareness turned into connection. It's not about learning new words, it's about learning to inhabit the moment so fully that your very being becomes a message. And when you master that, you discover something extraordinary. That speaking smart isn't about saying what's impressive, it's about saying what's real. In the next chapter, we'll explore that reality. How emotion, empathy, and energy shape the invisible language between people. You'll learn to read the feelings behind words, to sense what others don't say aloud, and to use that understanding to build connection at a level most people never reach. Because presence opens the door, but emotional intelligence walks you through it. And that's where our journey continues. Chapter 3. The emotional codes of connection. Every conversation you've ever had has two stories, the one spoken in words and the one spoken in emotion. The first story is obvious. It's the words themselves, the logic, the explanation, the facts. But the second story, that's the one that truly decides whether people listen, trust, or connect. It's the rhythm behind your words, the tone behind your logic, the feeling beneath your sentences, and it's this emotional story, invisible, unspoken, but deeply felt, that defines the psychology of powerful communication. Because people don't actually hear what you say, they hear what you mean. Imagine walking into a conversation carrying two invisible instruments, your mind and your heart. Your mind delivers information, but your heart delivers emotion. And here's the truth most communicators never realize: it's the heart, not the mind, that leads. If your emotion doesn't match your message, people won't trust it. If your tone doesn't reflect your truth, people won't believe it. Emotion is the secret language of understanding, the hidden code that bridges one soul to another. Think of a moment when someone told you something simple: I'm proud of you, or I love you, or I believe in you. Now think about how different those same words can feel, depending on how they're said. A flat voice can make warmth sound hollow, but a genuine tone, steady, sincere, alive, can make even silence feel full of meaning. That's because emotion carries frequency. Every feeling has a sound, a pulse, a vibration that others can sense instinctively. Joy expands the air, fear tightens it, anger sharpens it, calm softens it. You don't need to be trained to recognize it. You were born understanding it. From birth, humans learn emotion before language. A baby can't interpret words, but it knows tone, the soothing voice of comfort, the sharp edge of frustration, the melody of care. That emotional intelligence never leaves us. It just gets buried beneath adult logic. But here's the secret of speaking smart. To move people, you must reawaken that emotional instinct within yourself. Words may reach the mind, but emotion reaches the memory, and the memory decides what stays. Every great communicator, from poets to leaders, to parents comforting a child, speaks through this emotional code. They don't just describe feelings, they transmit them. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. speaking of a dream, or a teacher who believed in you when no one else did. What you remember is not the sentence. It's the feeling of being moved, understood, inspired. That's emotional communication, the art of translating what your heart feels into words that another person's heart can understand. But how do we do that in everyday life? How do we bring emotion back into our voice without losing composure or clarity? It begins with one word: awareness. Before every conversation, check in with yourself. Ask, what am I feeling right now? And is that the emotion I want to communicate? Because your emotions leak into your words whether you mean to or not. If you're frustrated, people feel tension. If you're anxious, your pace quickens and your tone thins. If you're grounded and open, your words become magnetic. Not because of technique, but because your inner world is aligned. When your inner state and outer expression match, people trust you. And trust is the foundation of all influence. Remember, people might not agree with everything you say, but they will always respond to how you make them feel. So learn to tune yourself before you speak. You are the instrument. Your emotions are the strings, your breath is the rhythm, and your awareness is the hand that guides them all into harmony. That's how emotional intelligence becomes emotional communication, not something you perform, but something you embody. Let's take this deeper. Every emotion has a message, a hidden truth behind its surface. Anger often hides hurt, defensiveness hides fear, silence can hide a plea for understanding. When you listen emotionally, you begin to hear what people don't have the words to say. That's what separates good communicators from extraordinary ones. Ordinary communication hears word, extraordinary communication hears truth. And to hear truth, you must listen with your whole being, not just your ears, but your intuition. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt you could trust them, even without knowing why, or felt uneasy with someone whose words sounded right but whose energy felt off? That's your intuition reading emotional codes. It's the brain's ancient system of empathy, older than speech, faster than thought. When you speak from genuine emotion, people's intuition aligns with you. They don't just process your words, they feel your sincerity. That's the hidden currency of connection. To speak smartly is not to sound perfect, it's to sound human. It's to show enough emotion that people know you're real, but not so much that you lose clarity. It's a balance, heart open, mind clear, voice steady, because emotion without awareness is chaos. But emotion with awareness becomes charisma. And charisma isn't about charm or popularity. It's about congruence, when your words, feelings, and presence all say the same thing. That's what gives you that unmistakable authenticity. People can't quite explain but always remember. So how do you master emotional congruence? You start by feeling before you speak. Pause for one heartbeat before you answer someone. That single pause creates space, a breath, enough for emotion to settle into truth. And when you speak from that truth, your voice naturally deepens, your tone steadies, and your message becomes undeniable. Emotion is not weakness. Emotion is wisdom expressed through feelings. The mind's way of showing it still remembers the heart. And when you speak from that balance, you no longer chase attention, you earn it. The next time you enter a conversation, don't focus on what you'll say, focus on what you want them to feel. Connection is not built on cleverness, it's built on empathy. You don't need to impress people to move them, you need to understand them, because understanding is the highest form of communication. And when you speak with understanding, even disagreement becomes connection. So remember this, every word carries an echo. That echo is your emotion. Make sure it's one you're proud to leave behind. In the next chapter, we'll explore the most overlooked power in communication, the art of listening. Because the smartest speakers are the ones who have mastered silence. Listening is not just the pause between your sentences, it's the doorway to genuine influence. And once you understand how to listen not just with your ears, but with your mind and heart together, you'll discover that the most powerful voices are often the quietest ones. Let's walk through that doorway in Chapter 4. Chapter 4, The Silence That Speaks. There is a kind of silence that isn't empty. It's not the pause between noise, nor the gap between sentences. It's the silence that listens, alive, alert, and full of presence. The silence that hears what words can't say. Have you ever sat with someone who made you feel completely understood, without speaking much at all? That kind of presence, calm, patient, attentive, carries more weight than any speech ever could. Because in that moment, you didn't just feel heard, you felt seen. That's the true power of listening. Not waiting for your turn to talk, not planning your response while the other person is still speaking, but entering their world for a moment without agenda, without interruption, without ego. When you truly listen, you do something extraordinary. You give someone the rarest gift in today's world, the experience of being fully received. And here's the paradox. Listening may seem passive, but it's actually one of the most active forms of communication. It requires discipline, patience, humility, and empathy. It asks you to quiet your mind long enough to hear more than words, to hear meaning. Listening is not about staying silent, it's about what your silence allows to unfold. Because when people feel safe enough to express their truth, they open, their defenses drop, their emotions surface, and in that space, trust begins to form. Most people listen to reply, few listen to understand, and almost none listen to feel. But when you learn to listen with your whole being, not just your ears, but your heart, your eyes, your intuition, you start to perceive life differently. You begin to hear the world in layers, the sound of hesitation beneath someone's words, the tremor of hope hidden inside their doubt, the quiet ache of things left unspoken. That's when listening becomes something sacred. It's not just a skill, it's a way of seeing humanity. Imagine what could happen if more of us practiced that kind of listening, not only to others, but also to ourselves. Because self-listening is where all real communication begins. How often do you pause to hear your own emotions before you react? How often do you sit in silence long enough to ask yourself, what am I truly feeling right now? The truth is, many people fear silence because they fear what it might reveal. They fill every gap with noise, distraction, chatter, anything to avoid the stillness that might whisper truth. But silence is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's the mirror that reflects what you've been avoiding. When you learn to listen inwardly, your outward communication transforms. You stop projecting your pain into every conversation. You stop defending old wounds that no one else can see. You stop hearing through filters of fear, anger, or pride. Instead, you begin to hear clearly, both yourself and others. That clarity is what turns an ordinary communicator into a wise one. A wise listener doesn't rush to fix. They don't correct. They don't fill every pause. They hold space, the way a mountain holds the sky. And in that space, people unfold naturally, like flowers that bloom when the sun simply waits. Listening, at its core, is love in motion. It's saying, I care enough to slow down and make room for your truth. It's saying, your words matter. Your silence matters. You matter. Think of the best conversations you've ever had. They probably weren't the ones filled with perfect advice or witty replies. They were the ones where someone listened, really listened, and made you feel understood, because in that understanding, healing began. That's what real listening does. It heals. It mends what misunderstanding has broken. It reconnects what ego has separated. And it's not limited to human relationships. The art of listening can reach beyond words, beyond people, into the deeper rhythm of life itself. You can listen to the stillness of nature, to the quiet intelligence of the wind, the sea, the stars. You can listen to your intuition, that gentle nudge that speaks before thought. You can even listen to time, the way life unfolds in its own patient order when you stop trying to rush it. Every form of wisdom begins with this, the ability to listen deeply, because listening creates awareness, and awareness leads to understanding, and understanding leads to peace. But the most beautiful truth of all is this: when you become a great listener, people begin to listen to you, not because you demand attention, but because your presence itself commands it. Your silence becomes magnetic. Your words, when you finally speak, carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they're real. Listening gives depth to your voice. It turns noise into message, and message into meaning. You can't speak wisdom if you haven't first listened to life, and life is always speaking, through events, through people, through the quiet moments that seem insignificant until you pause long enough to hear them. So listen to what's not being said. Listen to the emotions beneath the surface. Listen to the lessons behind the challenges. And most of all, listen to the silence between your thoughts, because that's where truth hides. The world doesn't need more speakers. It needs more listeners. People who can hold the chaos of others without being consumed by it. People who can hear pain without judgment, confusion without impatience, and difference without defense. Because listening doesn't mean agreement. It means respect. It means allowing another reality to exist alongside your own. It's the bridge that keeps humanity connected, even when opinions divide. And when you listen like that, with full presence and open heart, something miraculous happens. You begin to realize that every person, no matter how different, carries a piece of the same truth you do. Listening reveals unity beneath diversity. It shows you that connection isn't built through argument, but through attention. So the next time you speak, let your words be guided by what you've truly heard. And the next time you listen, don't listen to reply, listen to understand. Because the most intelligent communication begins not with speaking smart, but with hearing deeply. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens after deep listening, how to respond with clarity, compassion, and power. We'll uncover the art of conscious response, where emotion meets intention, and where every word you choose becomes an act of creation. For now, sit with the silence, let it speak to you, because once you learn to hear the wisdom within it, your voice and your life will never sound the same again. Chapter 5. The Art of Conscious Response. There's a moment, brief but powerful, that exists between what happens to you and how you respond. It's invisible, almost impossible to notice unless you're looking for it. But in that small space lives your entire power. Think about it. Someone criticizes you. Your heart races, your mind tightens around defense, anger, or shame. And before you even know it, words leap from your mouth, words that you'll later wish you could take back. That's the trap of reaction. It's fast, emotional, automatic. It's survival mode communication, built to protect, not to connect. But what if you could pause in that sacred space before the reaction takes over? What if, in that single breath, you could choose clarity over chaos and wisdom over impulse? That's what it means to practice conscious response. It's not about suppressing your emotions, it's about mastering the pause. Imagine standing in front of a mirror fogged with steam. You wipe the surface clean, and suddenly your reflection appears, clear, steady, undeniable. That's what consciousness does for communication. It wipes away the emotional fog so you can see yourself and the situation clearly. Responding consciously begins with awareness. You cannot control the world, but you can control the space between stimulus and speech. And in that control lies your freedom, the freedom to decide what kind of energy you bring into the world. Here's the truth: every word you speak either adds peace or adds noise. And most of the time, people don't mean to add noise, they just haven't learned the discipline of pausing. Pausing is not weakness, it's power refined. It's the art of choosing to speak with intention rather than reaction. Think of how many conflicts could be softened if people learned to wait just 2 seconds before responding. 2 seconds to breathe, 2 seconds to think what is truly needed right now, ego or understanding. Those 2 seconds can save relationships, careers, and peace of mind. Let's be honest, our world rewards speed, not silence. We're taught to reply instantly, defend immediately, post impulsively, but speed doesn't equal intelligence. Presence does. A conscious response always comes from presence, from being here, not trapped in the echoes of past pain or future fear. When you respond from presence, your words are no longer weapons. They become instruments, precise, deliberate, and often healing. To speak consciously means to speak with alignment. Your words, tone, and intention all move in the same direction. There's no inner contradiction, no pretending, no performance, no defense. You speak from your center, not your chaos. And here's the magic: people feel that. They might not understand why, but your calm draws them in. Your centered energy makes their noise quiet down, because calm is contagious, so is chaos. When you speak from reactivity, you feed more chaos into the room. When you speak from consciousness, you become the still point that everyone unconsciously orients around. It's not just about what you say, it's how you say it, and where inside you it's coming from. A conscious response can sound soft or strong, quiet or firm, but it always carries integrity. It comes from the part of you that isn't trying to prove anything, only to express truth with clarity and care. Now, conscious communication isn't sterile or emotionless. It doesn't mean you never feel anger, sadness, or frustration. It means you don't become them when you speak. Emotions are messengers, not masters. They arrive to show you what's happening inside, but they're not meant to drive the car. When you allow emotion to inform your response, not control it, you speak with authenticity and wisdom. Imagine this: you're in a heated conversation, someone's voice rises, accusations fly, you feel the heat rising in your own body, the pulse in your temples, the urge to fight back. But instead of reacting, you pause, you take a breath, you ground yourself in that space between. Then you ask, calmly, what are you really trying to say? In that moment, everything changes. The conversation softens, the energy shifts, because you didn't mirror their chaos. You absorbed it, transformed it, and sent back clarity. That is communication mastery, not control, not dominance, but conscious transformation. Responding consciously also means responding truthfully. Sometimes silence is the best response. Sometimes boundaries are. Sometimes walking away is. Conscious communication isn't about pleasing others. It's about honoring truth without cruelty and compassion without weakness. So how do you build this awareness? By practicing it in small moments. When someone interrupts you, pause. When you feel defensive, breathe. When a message triggers you, wait before replying. The pause creates space, and in that space, your higher intelligence can finally step in. You might start noticing that the less you react, the more power you have, because reactivity gives away control. Conscious response reclaims it. It's like holding a sword. You don't swing wildly at everything that moves. You learn to hold it still, steady, ready, but only use it when purpose demands it. That kind of restraint is not weakness, it's mastery. The most powerful communicators on earth are not the loudest. They're the clearest, and clarity only comes from calm. You cannot see your reflection in turbulent water. You have to wait until it settles. So when life throws you into conflict, let your first instinct be stillness. Not silence born of fear, but silence born of strength. The kind that listens first, sees clearly, and then responds with precision. When you speak from that space, your words carry gravity. People hear you differently because you mean every syllable. There's no wasted sound, no noise, only truth, delivered with grace. Conscious response is more than communication. It's leadership, it's emotional intelligence in action. It's the ability to choose the vibration you want to send into the world. And that, my friend, is real power. So as you move forward, practice the pause. Listen to the silence before your words. Ask yourself, what is the energy I want to add to this moment? And then speak, not from impulse, but from intention, because every word you speak plants a seed. Plant care, not chaos. Plant truth, not defense. Plant clarity, not noise. That's how powerful communicators are made, one conscious response at a time. In the next chapter, we'll explore the invisible art of emotional influence, how to shape the energy of a conversation, not through manipulation, but through authentic presence and emotional alignment. Because communication isn't just about words, it's about energy, and when you learn to master your inner state, your words begin to move hearts without even trying. But for now, breathe, pause, and remember, your greatest strength is not in how quickly you speak, but in how wisely you respond. Chapter 6. The Mirror of Time. Have you ever felt the strange weight of a moment that seems to echo across lifetimes, as if the past wasn't truly behind you, but still watching, still whispering? Sometimes, when silence wraps around you and the noise of the world fades away, you can almost hear it, a faint pulse beneath everything. That pulse is time itself, reminding you that nothing ever truly disappears. It only changes form. We think of time as a line, moving forward, carrying us from birth to death. But that's an illusion built by the mind, a survival map for the body. The soul does not walk in a straight line. It circles, spirals, returns. Every decision you make, every emotion you bury, every act of love or neglect, all of it is recorded, not in some faraway book of destiny, but within your own being. You are both the writer and the reader of your timeline. There is a secret to understanding time, not the time of clocks, but the time of consciousness. The clock measures movement, but consciousness measures meaning. 1 minute of deep awareness can feel like eternity. 1 year lived unconsciously can vanish like smoke. We rush through life, trying to escape the drag of time. We chase tomorrow as though today is never enough. Yet in this chase, we lose the very essence we were meant to find, the stillness inside the moment. That stillness is the doorway between worlds, the world of passing events and the world of eternal presence. To live in harmony with time is not to control it, it's to listen to it, because time is not your enemy, it's your greatest teacher. It stretches you, humbles you, reveals your attachments, and slowly, with infinite patience, strips away what is false. There's a story I once heard of a man who spent his life climbing mountains, searching for God. Every peak he conquered only led him to another. When he was old and weary, he finally sat down halfway up a mountain and said, "I give up." And in that moment, as he stopped striving, he heard something that had always been there, the wind carrying the sound of his own heartbeat. That was the sound of time, merging with timelessness. This is what happens when the seeker stops running. When the soul finally surrenders, time dissolves into presence. And in that presence, all that was scattered begins to align. You might think time has stolen something from you, your youth, your opportunities, your chances at love or redemption. But the truth is, time doesn't take. It transforms. Every loss it brings is an invitation to see what was truly eternal within it. If you look closely, you'll see that nothing real is ever lost. The laughter of a child, the warmth of a hand once held, the lessons learned from pain, they live within you as energy, not memory. They are the threads that weave your being together. You are made of time's echoes. But here's the paradox. While time shapes you, you also shape time. Every thought, every act of kindness, every choice born from awareness changes the vibration of your timeline. The past, too, bends in response. The soul does not see time as before and after. It sees time as resonance, like ripples spreading across an infinite sea. What you do now sends healing backward and forward through that sea. So when you forgive yourself, you heal more than the present. You free the past from its chain. When you awaken to love, even for a single breath, that awakening touches every version of you that ever felt lost. That's how powerful a single conscious moment is. It changes the architecture of eternity. There's a deep lesson hidden in the way time moves. It never stops. It never turns back. It only unfolds. And that's because life itself is a continuous revelation. Each second is the universe realizing itself through you. You are not moving through time. Time is unfolding within your awareness. One heartbeat at a time. Imagine standing before a mirror that doesn't reflect your body, but your entire existence. Not just who you are now, but every self you've ever been. The child, the dreamer, the lover, the wanderer, the broken, the healer. Each reflection looks back at you, holding a fragment of truth. Some smile, some cry, some reach out asking to be seen again. This mirror is time, and it does not judge. It only reflects your evolution. What you see in that mirror depends entirely on how you look. If you stare through the eyes of regret, you'll see all that you think you lost. But if you look with compassion, you'll see that every version of you was necessary. Every mistake, every detour, every heartbreak, each was a teacher guiding you toward this moment of seeing. When you stop running from your own timeline, something extraordinary happens. The fragments begin to reunite. The child forgives the adult. The past forgives the present. The future bows in gratitude. And suddenly, you realize you were never late. You were always exactly where you needed to be. The mind wants to race ahead, chasing outcome. The heart only wants to experience. So let the mind serve the heart. Let time serve your awakening. Every sunrise, every season, every cycle, they are mirrors, reminding you that endings are illusions. Nothing ends. Everything transforms. If you can meet each moment as it is, not clinging, not resisting, you begin to live beyond time. You begin to taste the timeless, and that, perhaps, is the greatest secret of all. Eternity is not somewhere you go after you die. It's the space that opens when you finally stop measuring life in hours and start feeling it in depth. So the next time you feel the pressure of time, the weight of deadlines, aging, or lost chances, take a breath. Remember that time is not against you, it's unfolding for you. Each second carries a message, a rhythm, a wisdom designed uniquely for your growth. You are not running out of time, you are ripening within it, and the universe, patient as ever, is waiting for you to see, not how much time you have left, but how much life you still contain. Because when you truly awaken to that realization, time itself bows to you. It becomes your companion, not your master, your teacher, not your thief. And in that sacred friendship, you begin to live as you were always meant to, fully present, fully alive, eternally unfolding. And as we turn the page to the next chapter, Remember this truth. You are not traveling through time. Time is traveling through you, and where it flows next depends on the depth of your awareness in this very moment. Chapter 7. The Thread Between Worlds. There comes a moment in every life when you realize you've been living between worlds. One world you can see, touch, and measure. The world of form, noise, and logic. And another, invisible yet impossibly close. The world of meaning, intuition, and divine design. It's the space between breath and silence, between thought and awareness, between who you think you are and who you truly are. That space, that thread between worlds, is where destiny speaks. Most people spend their lives chasing one world while ignoring the other. We build, we plan, we protect, we collect, yet still feel incomplete because something deep inside us knows the visible world is only half the truth. The other half lives in whispers, in symbols, in the still pull of your heart, when everything around you demands noise. When you begin to awaken, the thread starts to shimmer. You start noticing patterns that once seemed random. You feel pulled to people, ideas, and moments that seem to arrive by chance, but somehow always at the perfect time. That's the language of the unseen world: timing, intuition, synchronicity. It's not coincidence, it's conversation. But here's the secret: you can't hear that language if you're always talking. You can't see the signs if your eyes are fixed only on what's measurable. To perceive the invisible, you must become still enough to feel its rhythm. That rhythm doesn't belong to your mind, it belongs to your essence. The thread between worlds is made of awareness. Every time you pause, breathe, and truly see, not with your eyes, but with your presence, you touch that thread. It hums with quiet power, and the more you listen, the clearer it becomes. Soon, you begin to realize that every challenge, every delay, every heartbreak, they weren't interruptions. They were invitations. Each one was designed to pull you closer to the other side of the thread. Let me tell you something few understand. The spiritual world is not somewhere out there. It's not distant or hidden behind veils of mystery. It's interwoven with your ordinary life. In the breath you take before you speak, in the intuition that warns you before a choice, in the ache that reminds you to grow. The sacred doesn't demand rituals to be real. It simply asks to be noticed. Think of a moment when you almost ignored your intuition, but didn't. Maybe you took a different road, called someone at the right time, or walked away just before something broke. In those moments, something beyond reason was guiding you. That was the thread, the subtle alignment between your soul and the unfolding of the universe. Yet, as luminous as this thread is, it's fragile. Fear can tangle it, doubt can fray it, and attachment to control, to ego, to the illusion of certainty, can break your connection to it completely. Because the thread only stays visible to those who trust. Not blind trust in fate, but the quiet faith that life is intelligent, even when it feels cruel. When the storms come, and they always do, the thread becomes harder to see. Pain makes you forget that both worlds still exist. You start believing only in the visible one, the world of loss, confusion, and fear. But if you stay with the pain long enough, something miraculous happens. The thread begins to glow again. It reveals the deeper meaning behind the suffering, that every fall was preparing you to rise differently. You were being taught not to escape the storm, but to hear its message. The truth is, the visible and invisible are never separate. They are reflections of one another. The physical world shows you where your soul still clings. The invisible world shows you what your soul is becoming. Together, they form the complete map of your being. Many spend their lives asking, why me? But those who have glimpsed the thread ask a different question. What is this moment asking me to awaken to? That question changes everything. It shifts you from resistance to revelation. It turns pain into purification, confusion into clarity, endings into opening, because the thread is not just connection, it's communication. It speaks through everything you experience. When you feel peace for no reason, that's the thread reminding you of truth. When you feel restless or stuck, that's the thread urging you to realign. And when you feel deep sorrow, it's not absence, it's expansion. Your heart is stretching wide enough to hold both worlds at once. But perhaps the most profound realization is this: the thread doesn't begin with you, and it doesn't end with you. It's woven through everyone you've ever loved, every soul you've ever met, every life that's brushed against yours. You carry the stories of generations within you, their hopes, their wounds, their unfinished song. And with every act of awareness, you heal not only yourself, but those unseen roots, reaching through time. This is why your awakening matters. It's not a private event, it's a cosmic ripple. When one person becomes conscious, the thread strengthens for all. The world becomes a little more awake, a little more luminous. Because consciousness, true consciousness, is contagious. So how do you stay connected to the thread between worlds? By returning to simplicity. By noticing the way sunlight touches your hand. By feeling gratitude before asking for more. By listening, not just hearing. By trusting the pauses as much as the progress. Every act of awareness is an act of communion. Every breath taken in presence is a silent prayer. You don't need to go searching for the divine. It's already woven into your ordinary moments. The unseen world doesn't need belief, it needs recognition. And when you live from that recognition, you become the bridge, you become the thread itself, alive, aware, eternal. So as you move forward, remember, you are never walking alone. The visible world walks beside you. The invisible world walks within you. Both are conspiring, beautifully, to lead you home to yourself. And when you finally begin to see that both worlds are one, that the sacred hides in the simple, something extraordinary happens. Life stops being a puzzle you must solve, and becomes a mystery you are meant to live. As we turn to the next chapter, hold this truth close. The more you trust the invisible, the more visible its blessings become. Because the thread between worlds does not end. It only deepens, drawing you ever closer to the heart of what you truly are. Chapter 8. The Mirror of Destiny. There comes a time when life stops giving you answers and starts giving you mirrors. At first, you resist them. You deny what they show. You call them unfair, painful, confusing, but slowly, painfully, beautifully, you realize that every mirror life places before you is not punishment, it's revelation. Every face you meet, every situation you enter, every emotion that rises in your chest, they are mirrors, reflecting parts of you that seek to be seen. Sometimes they show your strength, sometimes your shadow, sometimes they show your patience, and other times the wounds you swore you had already healed. Destiny, in its quiet genius, uses mirrors more than maps. Because it doesn't tell you where to go, it shows you who you are. We think destiny is a straight road, a divine plan carved out in advance, waiting for us to follow. But destiny is alive. It moves with you, breathes with you, responds to your every choice. And like a mirror, it reflects back not what you say you want, but what you are. You attract not what you imagine, but what you embody. And the mirrors around you, people, events, circumstances, are the feedback of your soul's current frequency. Think about it. When you're at peace within yourself, life seems to open in harmony. Doors appear where walls once stood. But when you're filled with fear or resistance, everything tightens. The same world, the same day, yet it feels heavier, colder, more distant. That's not coincidence. That's the mirror responding. Every reaction you have to others is a message from your own consciousness. The anger you feel when someone betrays you is often not about them. It's about the part of you that still believes you deserved it. The jealousy you feel when others rise isn't about their success. It's the reflection of your own forgotten potential waiting to be claimed. And the love you feel, the awe you experience when you witness beauty, kindness, or grace, that too is you, remembering what lives inside your own heart. Destiny's mirrors are not there to flatter you. They are there to awaken you. And awakening is rarely comfortable, because to look into the mirror of destiny is to see both your divinity and your denial, side by side. It shows you how you've dimmed your own light, how you've mistaken safety for peace, how you've lived as a reflection of others' expectations instead of your own truth. But there's an even deeper secret. Destiny does not punish your blindness. It waits, patiently, endlessly. Because the moment you choose to look honestly, everything changes. The mirrors stop being cruel, they become compassionate. Life begins to show you not just what you've been avoiding, but what you are capable of becoming. Imagine walking through a hall of mirrors, each one showing a different version of you. Some mirrors reflect your past, the child still carrying old fears. Others reflect the present, the person doing their best, learning, trying. And then there are mirrors of the future, shimmering with what could be, if only you dared to believe in it. That's the mirror of destiny, not fixed, not final, but alive with possibility. When you learn to stand in front of it without judgment, without comparison, you begin to see something extraordinary. Every version of you, the broken, the brave, the uncertain, the radiant, they all exist in the same soul. And destiny's true purpose is not to choose one version over the other, but to integrate them all into wholeness. We've been taught to chase perfection, to run towards some distant image of who we should be. But the mirror of destiny doesn't want your perfection, it wants your presence. It wants you to meet yourself honestly, without disguise, without performance, because only then can it show you the truth that changes everything. You were never missing anything, you were only missing your reflection. The more courage you bring to self-awareness, the clearer the mirror becomes. You start to notice that even your hardships have been teaching you who you are not, so that who you are can finally emerge. Every heartbreak was a lesson in boundaries. Every failure was a rehearsal for resilience. Every rejection was redirection, guiding you toward alignment, not approval. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you, through the lens of how you see yourself. If you want to change your life, don't fight the mirror. Clear away the fog of self-doubt, the dust of comparison, the fingerprints of fear. And when you do, what you'll see staring back is not the same old reflection. You'll see light, your own unfiltered, undeniable light. Destiny has always been waiting for that version of you, the one who stops hiding. Because the moment you show up authentically, the mirrors shift. New opportunities appear, new people enter, new timing unfolds. It's not magic, it's resonance. The universe mirrors back your alignment with truth. And maybe this is the most powerful mirror of all, the mirror of gratitude. When you begin to look at your life, not through what's missing, but through what's meaningful, destiny transforms. Suddenly, every detour becomes divine. Every closed door becomes protection. Every unanswered prayer becomes preparation. Because gratitude polishes the mirror until it reflects only love. So here's the invitation of this chapter. Look closer. Notice the patterns repeating in your life, the emotions, the relationships, the lessons that return again and again. They are not signs of failure. They are reflections waiting to be understood. Life will repeat the same mirror until you finally recognize yourself in it. Once you do, it no longer needs to return. That's when you evolve. And evolution is destiny's truest language. It doesn't demand perfection, only participation. Every time you grow in awareness, you change your reflection. And when you change your reflection, you change your reality. So stand before the mirror, not in fear, but in reverence. See the beauty of your becoming. See how every shadow only made your light more visible. See how every trial shaped you into someone who now understands the sacred purpose of imperfection. Because destiny's mirror was never meant to judge you, it was meant to remind you, you are both the reflection and the light that creates it. And as we move into the next chapter, remember this truth: the world will always mirror who you believe yourself to be. Change the belief, and you change the reflection. Not tomorrow, not someday. Chapter 9. The Hidden Architecture of Destiny. Have you ever felt that something invisible was arranging your life, not like a puppeteer pulling strings, but like a silent composer writing a symphony one note at a time? You take a step forward, make a choice, meet a stranger, and years later realize that every thread was part of a pattern too intricate to be random. It's as if destiny breathes quietly behind the curtain, watching you move, waiting for you to notice. But here's the truth most people miss. Destiny is not a fixed script. It's an unfolding conversation between your soul and the infinite. It doesn't demand blind obedience, it invites awareness. The hidden architecture of destiny isn't built of walls, it's made of windows. Each decision, each emotion, each moment of courage opens one more. To see destiny's design, you must stop looking for control and start looking for alignment. Control wants to dictate the outcome. Alignment listens for the direction life is already flowing in, then walks with it. Imagine a river. Control fights the current, exhausting itself in resistance. Alignment flows, adjusting, trusting the bends it cannot yet see. The question isn't what is my destiny? The real question is, am I awake enough to walk with it? Destiny doesn't announce itself with thunder or revelation. It whispers in moments you almost ignore. A gut feeling you brush aside, a small opportunity that doesn't look grand, a detour that ruins your plan but saves your soul. It shows itself not in what you expect, but in what you learn to embrace. Many people live half asleep inside their own stories. They believe fate is something done to them, not something unfolding through them. But destiny isn't an external force, it's an inner frequency. When you live from fear, that frequency becomes static. When you live from presence, it becomes a signal. That's when synchronicities start appearing, those strange coincidences that feel too precise to be random. They are not accidents, they are echoes of alignment. Think of the times life felt too perfect to explain. You were lost, and then suddenly help appeared. You were uncertain, yet something guided you through the fog. Those weren't coincidences, they were confirmations. Life was showing you that destiny is not a straight line, it's a spiral. You revisit lessons until you understand them, then rise to a higher circle. But destiny has one rule: it cannot be lived unconsciously. The universe will not hand you a completed map. It gives you a compass, and the courage to use it. That compass is your intuition, not the loud voice of fear that says, "What if I fail?" but the quiet knowing that says, "This feels true." When you follow that truth, even when it's uncertain, you step into the architecture that has always been waiting for you. Each moment of trust builds a bridge you can't yet see the other side of. Each act of integrity lays a stone on your path that will hold the weight of your future self. Destiny is not found, it's revealed, and revelation requires readiness. The universe won't show you what you are not yet able to live. That's why so many dreams are delayed, not denied. The delay is not punishment, it's preparation. The walls you hit are not barriers, they are mirrors, asking, are you ready to become the version of yourself this destiny requires? The soul never rushes, it knows that time bends around purpose. What feels like waiting is often weaving invisible threads connecting people, places, and possibilities behind the scenes of your awareness. When the moment finally arrives, it feels sudden, and in truth, it has been growing silently for years. Have you ever noticed how sometimes everything changes in a single day? A call, a meeting, a decision, and your life pivots. That is the moment destiny unfolds what it has been silently arranging, and yet even then it doesn't take over. It hands you a door and says, "Will you walk through it?" You see, destiny doesn't force, it offers. You can refuse the call, ignore the sign, or turn away in fear. But destiny is patient. It will circle back through time, through experience, through the quiet ache of regret, until you're ready to say yes. And when you finally do, you'll feel it. That unmistakable alignment when every part of you says, "This is where I was meant to be." Not because it's easy, but because it's true. That's the vibration of destiny. Truth without resistance. You might think your path is random, full of missteps and mistakes, but if you look closer, you'll see that every moment you thought was chaos was actually choreography. Life has been sculpting you, shaping your understanding, softening your heart, strengthening your faith, preparing you to carry the purpose that once would have broken you. Destiny doesn't need perfection, it needs participation. It asks you to show up fully, even when you don't know what's next. It's not about knowing the whole story, it's about trusting the next line. So if you feel lost right now, remember this: the map isn't missing, it's inside you. The directions are written in intuition, courage, and surrender. Every choice that comes from authenticity brings you closer to alignment. Every time you trust the unseen, the architecture of destiny reveals one more pillar beneath your feet. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: destiny isn't a place you arrive at, it's a way of being. The more awake you become, the more you realize that destiny was never about the future. It was always about how fully you live now. Because when you live awake, the ordinary becomes sacred. Each breath becomes an act of creation. Each moment becomes a meeting point between your soul and the infinite. And in that awareness, you don't just witness destiny, you become its co-creator. So pause for a moment, breathe, feel the quiet intelligence of life moving through you. You are not behind, you are not late, you are exactly where you're meant to be in the architecture of something vast, ancient, and alive. Something that has been waiting patiently for your awareness to return home. And as you step forward into that awareness, remember this: destiny is not written in stone, it's written in choice. Every time you choose truth over fear, presence over distraction, love over control, you are rewriting the stars themselves. The architecture of destiny is not outside you, it's being built through you, one conscious breath at a time. And as you carry this knowing, prepare yourself, for what awaits in the next chapter is not about the design of destiny, but the awakening of the one who designed it. Chapter 10. The Voice Within. Mastering the Art of Presence. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the quietest part of yourself, the voice that speaks not in words, but in knowing. It doesn't argue, it doesn't demand, it doesn't rush, it simply is. That voice has been with you all along, patiently waiting for you to stop chasing noise, distraction, and the opinions of others. It is your true power, your presence, your most profound form of communication. Every human interaction is a conversation, not just between minds, but between presences. Words are vessels, yes, but they carry the energy of the one speaking. The listener feels more than the meaning. They feel the life behind the words, and the life behind your words is shaped entirely by your inner state. Calmness resonates. Authenticity resonates. Confidence resonates. Fear, doubt, and tension also resonate, whether you intend them to or not. Chapter 10 is about mastering that resonance, about discovering that the most powerful conversations begin not with clever phrases or rehearsed arguments, but with the mastery of self. When you cultivate presence, your voice gains gravity. People lean in, not because you've said the right thing, but because you are the right energy in the moment. Consider a moment in your life when someone truly listened to you, not just heard your words, but felt your truth. Perhaps it was a mentor, a friend, or even a stranger. Notice how their presence made your own voice rise to clarity, how their stillness allowed your thoughts to crystallize. That is the art we are talking about. That is the power you already possess, waiting to be claimed consciously. Presence is the foundation of intelligent speech. It is what turns simple words into transformative experiences. A sentence delivered without attention may pass unnoticed, but the same sentence spoken from grounded awareness can spark inspiration, reflection, or even healing. Presence doesn't require perfection, it requires honesty. It doesn't require eloquence, it requires authenticity. Let's explore the inner architecture of presence. First, it begins with silence, the kind of silence that is not empty but full of observation, full of listening, full of empathy. People who speak with power first know how to hold silence. They allow the space to be alive, to breathe. They understand that words are most potent when they emerge from a quiet center rather than a restless mind. Next comes awareness of your own energy, your own emotions, and your own intentions. Are you speaking to impress, to dominate, or to be heard? Or are you speaking to connect, to illuminate, and to resonate? Awareness transforms speech from a mechanical act into a living art. Every pause, every inflection, every word becomes deliberate, chosen, meaningful. Then comes empathy, the bridge between you and the world. Empathy is not merely understanding another's words. It is feeling the currents beneath. It is sensing the fears, the hopes, and the unspoken truth that shape their experience. When empathy is present, your speech becomes not a weapon, not a performance, but a gift, a channel through which insight, comfort, or inspiration flows naturally. Now combine silence, awareness, and empathy, and you have what the ancients called magnetism of presence. People cannot ignore it. It speaks in volumes louder than words. It is the power that allows you to influence, to teach, and to lead, not through manipulation, but through alignment with the truth of who you are. And here's the remarkable part. Mastering presence is not about changing who you are. It's about uncovering who you already are, beneath the clutter of distraction, fear, and social conditioning. It's about returning to that quiet voice within, the one that has always known, the one that has always been listening, waiting for your attention. Practice begins with listening, first to yourself. Notice your thoughts as they arise, your feelings as they surface. Do not judge them, do not suppress them, simply observe. Through this practice, you develop the ability to center yourself before you speak, to speak from clarity rather than reactivity. Then practice listening to others with the same intensity. Let their words, their pauses, their hesitations teach you. Notice how often the world rushes to speak, to interrupt, to respond before it understands. The art of presence requires that you resist that urge, that you allow conversation to become a dance, a rhythm, a mutual creation of meaning. Presence is also about timing, knowing when to speak and when to be silent, knowing that sometimes saying less communicates infinitely more than saying more. The world is filled with noise, yet the people who truly leave an impression are those who know that every word matters, every pause counts, every breath communicates. When you combine presence with intention, your communication becomes transformational. Intention gives words direction. Presence gives them energy. Together, they create something that resonates deeply, not just with the mind, but with the heart. You begin to speak, not just to convey information, but to awaken insight, courage, or clarity in another soul. And the final piece of mastery: trust. Trust yourself, your inner voice, and the timing of your speech. Do not overthink, do not overcorrect. Act and move with the confidence that presence itself will carry your meaning. The universe listens to those who listen to themselves. Life responds to those who respond to it with awareness and authenticity. By now you may be beginning to see the through line of this journey. It is not about tricks, techniques, or scripts. It is about transformation, the transformation of your inner world, which naturally transforms every interaction in your outer world. Every chapter you've traveled through has led to this realization that the most powerful communication is not about the cleverness of your mind, but the clarity of your being. So take this truth into your daily life. Speak less to impress and more to connect. Listen more to understand and less to respond. Stand still within yourself, even when the world spins around you. Let your words be guided by silence, your energy guided by awareness, and your intent guided by empathy. And finally, remember this: mastery of presence is mastery of destiny. The way you speak, the way you pause, the way you embody yourself, it all echoes into your relationships, your opportunities, and your life's path. When your voice aligns with your truth, the world cannot help but respond. Now, as you close this audiobook and step back into your own story, know that you carry the most powerful tools of all: awareness, presence, and authenticity. You have learned to listen, to reflect, and to speak in ways that awaken life itself. The journey doesn't end here. Every day is a chance to practice, to refine, and to deepen the resonance of your voice. Every conversation is an opportunity to express the wisdom, courage, and love that already resides within you. And as you move forward, remember this final truth: the world listens most attentively, not to those who have the loudest words, but to those who have the clearest presence. You have found that presence, you have awakened the voice within, and now the world is ready to hear it.